Okay.
All right. Welcome to the June 3rd, 2020 Town of Sutton Conservation Commission meeting. The location due to the current COVID-19 crisis, the town hall is closed and therefore this meeting will be held via Zoom teleconference. Persons may attend and participate in the hearing by using the online Zoom application at https://zoom.us/join or by phone at 1-929-205-6099 using the meeting ID 838-2802-9896. Password is 708933. Comments may also be submitted in accordance with the instructions on the town's website at www.suttonmass.org on the Conservation Commission's page. And I have the statement that I have to read in. Good evening. This open meeting of the Conservation Commission is being conducted remotely via the Zoom teleconference, consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12, 2020, due to the current state of emergency in the Commonwealth due to the outbreak of the COVID-19 virus. While still ensuring public access, this order suspends the requirement of open meeting law to have all meetings in a publicly accessible physical location. Further, all members of public bodies are allowed and encouraged to participate remotely. You can find the order posted on the town's website. Regardless of our inability to meet in person, it is our intent to ensure continued transparency and the ability of the public to at least view the actions of the commission. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. Tonight's public meeting will feature public comment, as all public hearings will be conducted in accordance with the legislation passed on April 3rd, 2020. Please note that this meeting is being recorded. Accordingly, please be aware that others may be able to see you and that you take care not to screen share your computer. Anything that you broadcast may be captured by the recording. All right. And I'm going to do the roll call to begin very beginning here so I don't mess it up again. Tonight, we have Andrew DeWolf as chair, Bill Wentz as vice chair, Joyce as clerk, Joyce Smith. We have Zach Pelquin as member, Mike McGovern as member, Nicole Oben as associate member, and James Marin as associate member. So the associates are only going to vote if the full members are not, they have to recuse themselves or whatnot. All right, first on the agenda is going to be 125 Lincoln Road, notice of intent, residential parking area in the drainage trench, and I have to read this in. In accordance with the provisions of MGL Chapter 131, Section 40 of the Wetlands Protection Act, the Sutton Wetlands Protection Bylaw, the Sutton Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on Wednesday, June 3rd, 2020, 6:30 p.m., Sutton Town Hall, 4 Uxbridge Road, Sutton, Mass. The purpose of this hearing is to review a notice of intent submitted by Joseph Messier Jr. and Rachel Preventure of Sutton, Mass. The project consists of construction of a 24 by 26 garage and a separate 25 by 40 parking area, both related drainage and structures at 125 Lincoln Road, Sutton, Mass. This will be a virtual meeting in accordance with the orders issued by the governor during the current state of emergency. There will be no in-person attendance to the meeting. Persons may attend and participate in the hearing by using the online Zoom application at https://zoom.us/join or via phone at 929-205-6099, meeting ID 832-2802-9896, password 708933. You may also provide input by emailing it to w.bean@town.sutton.mass.us or mailing it to Conservation, 4 Uxbridge Road, Sutton, Mass. 01590. An electronic file of the application materials can be viewed on the town website at https://www.suttonmass.org on the Conservation Commission's page, and a copy of the same may be requested via email to w.bean@town.sutton.mass.us or by phone 508-865-8728. And this was published May 21st, 2020. So Glenn, I think you're here to present the project?
Yes, sir, thank you. And also Mr. Messier is also here, I believe.
Excellent.
Just a slight correction, the 24 by 26 garage has already been permitted. It's in the project description that received a permit to construct the 24 by 26. It hasn't been built yet. That was under an amendment. We did not want to add this to another amendment, so we filed a notice of intent for the 25 by 40 parking area for his motorhome. As we know, there'll be a lot more motorhomes on the road as the stats went up, as people are going to be worried about being with other people, apparently. So this is just a park a motorhome as you pull into the gentleman's driveway on the right-hand side, as the plan should show if Wanda puts it on the screen, or Brandon, that this area, there's the area as you're pulling it off the Lincoln Road. It's an area to the right. That's what we're working to permit. There are, you'll see the original wetland line delineated by Ecotech, which is still valid because there's an order of conditions governing that line for the addition that you'll see still in red next to the house. Existing grades did the plan for us. We did move it off the road, the parking area, as the motorhome is 8.5, 31 by 8.5. This would give them sufficient room to park the motorhome. Top of the area is generally level. It's partially grass. There are 4 trees that we're asking to remove. The ones closest to the road, the 3 of them we are leaving as part of that buffer between us and the road. As you can see, they're black on the screen. And we are replacing those 4 trees with 2.5-inch caliber South Atlantic. There's a few names for them, but it's the Atlantic white cedar that is native to your town, not the arborvitae, which is the northern white cedar, which is not native. We went with native. We initially did find them in Brooklyn, Connecticut, and Brandon had reviewed that, made the comment that we need the trees. We revised the plan, did get it to you, and I'm not sure that that plan is the final plan, because I don't see the trees, but they're along. It's not the final plan, Wanda. The final plan was sent to you, but Brandon reviewed it, and on the, as we're looking at the north-south arrow, they're placed on the southern side, just outside of the parking area. In the parking area, we did put, in order to infiltrate, there's hydrocalcs that were presented to you. There's a drainage swale along the edge, and we're putting back 1 inch in 24 hours back into the ground. And you can see the distance we're off the wetland. Do hold your 25-foot no disturbance zone. And again, a good portion, 2/3 of this area is already lawn, mowed area. And this is what the gentleman was asking for to park his motorhome. Thank you.
Glenn, for the description. I'm going to just have everybody please just take your time and bear with me here. I'm going to turn it over to Brandon, our consultant. Brandon, what's your comments on this?
Well, first of all, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to say that the design meets my specifications and the commission specifications for the 4 trees that are going to be lost. They propose 4 Atlantic white cedar at the base of the slope of the proposed turnaround area. And also there's a crushed stone drainage trench all around the new parking, the turnaround area or auxiliary parking area, and along the east side of the existing parking area, which is exactly what the commission looks for when dealing with new impervious areas for stormwater runoff. There's a little bit of grading associated with the auxiliary parking area. It's a little steep, but I'm not too concerned about that as long as they maintain their erosion controls and get it stabilized as soon as possible. It's also at least 25 feet away from the BVW. Glenn's right, this plan was approved and is still valid for the garage addition. I don't see a problem putting it on this plan. You might as well. The wetland line is solid. It's not moving anywhere anytime soon. So I don't think there's any reason to make them remove it because it's already on another plan. You might as well just have put on this plan and have it extended for another 3 years so it allows them to do what they need to do. And that's it.
Excellent. Thank you, Brandon. I'm going to go over to Bill Wentz. Bill, do you have any comments on this project?
No, the plan looks good.
All right. Next, I'm going to go over to Joyce. Joyce, do you have any comments on this project?
I'd just like to thank them for doing native species. The Atlantic white cedar is a nice native species. And just reiterate the fact that the erosion controls need to be the 12-inch and biodegradable 100%.
Thanks, Joyce. Zach, do you have any comments on this?
I have no comments.
Thank you, Zach. Mike, do you have any comments on this?
I do not.
Thanks,
Looks
Mike.
like a good project.
I appreciate that. Nicole, do you have any comments on that?
No comment.
And Jamie, do you have any comments on it?
No comment.
All right, Nicole, do we have anybody from the public that's here to comment on this project?
No, I do not have anybody.
All right, hearing all comments from the board and none from the public, I think we could take a motion on this.
Bill Wentz making a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll second it.
So Bill Wentz made the motion, Zach Peliquin second. Bill, how do you vote?
Aye.
Joyce, how do you vote?
I have a suggestion. Just say our name. You don't have to say a whole big long sentence. It'll take less time that way. I vote yes.
Yeah, we unfortunately we have to. It's a legal thing with the Zoom meeting.
Really?
Yeah, Zach, how do you vote?
I vote yes. Sorry. It
Mike
wouldn't
McGovern,
unmute.
yeah, no problem. Mike McGovern, how do you vote?
Aye.
And I, Andrew, will vote aye. So that's 5-0.
Bill Wentz making a motion to issue an order of conditions for 125 Lincoln Road, Sutton.
I'll second it.
So Bill Wentz made the motion. Zach made the second. Bill, how do you vote?
Aye.
Joyce, how do you vote?
Aye.
Zach, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mike, how do you vote?
Aye.
And I, Andrew DeWolf, vote aye. You're all set.
Thank you very much, Conservation Commission. We appreciate always your time. Thank you.
Just give me 1 second here to prepare for the next meeting.
Good to see you again, Glenn.
Good evening, all of you. Keep trout in mind. We just found the new trout brook yesterday. You'll hear about it. Thank you.
All right, the second item on the agenda is going to be 182 Manchog Road. It's a new notice of intent for stairs and a fire pit construction. In accordance with the provisions of MGL Chapter 131, Section 40, the Wetlands Protection Act, and the Sutton Wetlands Protection Bylaw, Sutton Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on Wednesday, June 3rd, 2020 at 6:40 p.m. Sutton Town Hall, 4 Uxbridge Road, Sutton, Mass. The purpose of this hearing is to review a notice of intent submitted by Jeanne Berkowitz of Northbridge, Mass. The project consists of construction of exterior stairs and fire pit within the buffer zone at 182 Manchog Road, Sutton, Mass. This will be a virtual meeting in accordance with the orders issued by the governor during the current state of emergency. There will be no in-person attendance by the public. Persons may attend and participate in the hearing by using the online Zoom application at https://zoom.us/join or via phone at 1-929-205-6099 US. Meeting ID is 838-2802-9896. Password is 708933. You may also provide input by emailing to w.bean@town.sutton.mass.us or mailing it to Conservation, 4 Uxbridge Road, Sutton, Mass. 01590. An electronic file, the application materials can be viewed on the town's website at https://www.suttonmass.org on the Conservation Commission's page, and a copy of the same may also be requested via email to w.bean@town.sutton.mass.us or by phone to 508-865-8728. This was also published May 21, 2020. We'll go ahead and who's presenting this?
Mr. Chairman, Brandon Fanafair. I've been trying to get in touch with the consultant over at Andrews for the last couple of weeks. I sent them my comments back a couple weeks ago in the middle of May, and they didn't get back to me until this morning. And by that point, I said, I given her 3 comments, and the answer that I got from them was that all my comments were well taken and that they were going to make the changes and present them tonight. And I said to them that that's not how this commission does it. You have to get the plans in a week ahead of time. They want me to review it, comment on it, and get it as finalized as possible. Not that the commission won't comment if they don't think so, but that it's really, they rely on me to get it as complete as possible. So she apologized, and I said, it's not in your best interest to just come in with a brand new plan that nobody's seen. And so what she did is she requested a continuance to the next meeting, so it'll give me time to do the review.
Excellent. And I really appreciate you doing that, and I appreciate them be willing to continue, because it is that's a tough thing. So I'm going to take a motion for a continue on this. Wanda,
Bill
what
Wentz
time?
making a motion to continue 182 Manchaka Road to June 17th, Wednesday at
6:30 p.m.
6:30 p.m.
I'll take a second on that.
I'll second it.
All right, and Bill made the motion to continue. Zach seconded. Bill, how do you vote?
Aye.
Joyce, how do you vote?
Aye.
Zach, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mike, how do you vote?
Aye.
And I, Andrew Wolf, vote aye. So that's 5-0 to continue. It is now the hour of 6:50, and I have to recuse myself. Does anybody else have this to read it in? Let me just send it over to you, Bill. I'll send it to you via text so you can read it in. Is that all right?
Okay.
Raouf?
Yeah, I'm here.
Hey.
Just let me know when you get it, Bill. Make sure it's legible.
Is it email or text?
I sent it via text.
I do not have it yet. All right, bear with me here. This is tiny.
I sent it email as well, if that helps.
Okay. In accordance with the provisions of MGL 131, Chapter 40, the Wetlands Protection Act, and the Sutton Wetlands Protection Bylaw, the Sutton Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on Wednesday, June 3rd, 2020 at 6:50 p.m. at the Sutton Town Hall, 4 Uxbridge Road, Sutton, Mass. The purpose of this hearing is to review a notice of intent submitted by David and April DeWolf of Westboro, Mass. The project consists of a driveway and grading for a proposed single-family house at 188 Mendon Road, Sutton, Mass. This will be a virtual meeting in accordance with others issued by the governor during the current state of emergency. There will be no in-person attendance by the public. Persons may attend and participate in the hearing by using the online Zoom application at https://zoom.us join or via phone at 1-929-204-6099. Meeting ID 832-2802-9896, and the password 708933. You may also provide input by emailing it to w.bean@town.sutton.ma.us or mailing it to Conservation, 4 Uxbridge Road, Sutton, Mass. 01590. An electronic file of the application materials can be viewed on the Sutton Town's website at https://www.suttonma.org on the Conservation Commission's page, and a copy of the same may also be requested via email to w.bean@town.sutton.ma.us or by phone 508-865-8728. That's a lot.
Bill, before we get started, I just want to disclose something. I have nothing to do with this lot, but I do have a client. I believe this is the land. There's 7 or 8 lots that were broken up, and I will be building on one of the other lots. I don't feel there's any, that I don't have any. I just want to disclose that I'll be working on that road, building one of the houses, not on this piece of land. And if anybody thinks it's a violation, I could recuse myself. I just wanted to make a statement that I will be working on this street.
Thank you, Mike. I don't see it as a conflict. Does any of the other board feel as that it might be, or any of the participants? No. I'm hearing none. Brandon, I'm sorry. Raouf, this is yours, right?
Yep.
You look like you're in a better place than all of us, so you can have at it.
Good evening. My name is Raouf Mankaris with Alpha Omega Engineering. The land is a retreat lot with almost 7.5 acres. Most of the proposed work, the house, the garage, and a large portion of the driveway is actually outside the buffer zone. So the only work that's proposed in the buffer zone is the driveway itself, a section of the driveway. However, we actually doing a drainage analysis for the whole property, including the house, the garage, and the whole driveway. And the whole drainage is actually, the post-development is less than the pre-development. So we're improving the drainage on the site. I went through some review with Brandon, and I had some comments, and I addressed the comments, and that's why there is a revision date on the plan you have, the hard copy plan you have. Other than that, it's just a straightforward, the septic is approved by the Board of Health, and it's just a straightforward project.
Thank you. Brandon, do you have any comments on this?
I have reviewed the plan, and I've reviewed it quite some time ago. My only comment on this plan was because, for the most part, I'll explain that this long driveway is already an existing cart path that has been there for a long time. So what they're doing is they're just improving an existing cart path or way. And that the house and the septic system and the majority of the grading and even the majority of the clearing associated with the house is outside of the buffer. If it does go into the buffer, it's the closest it gets is about 75 feet away from the wetland, which is pretty good. So what I did ask them to do was to put up buffer zone signs along the where's the north arrow? There it
Bottom
is.
of the screen.
Yeah, on the east side of the driveway and on the north side of the house along that edge of the lawn. And Raouf, he accommodated. So at this point, I think it's a good plan, and I have no further comments.
Thank you very much. Joyce, do you have any comments? Joyce, you're muted.
I know, it changed from the left side to the right side and I lost it. No, I have no comments.
Thank you. Zach, do you have any comments?
I do not have any comments.
Mike, any comments?
I just, I've looked at the plans to all these projects. Just did a really nice job of breaking up the lots so that when they come in front of us, the houses have minimal impact. It's just, I got to challenge the signs and whether they're on the edge of wetland, because there's going to be a lot of these lots all have bordering wetlands. I mean, I'd make a suggestion, we put the signs along the wetland line. And other than that, I have no comments.
Thank you, Mike. Jamie, any comments?
No comments.
Nicole, any comments?
No, no comment.
And Nicole, do we have anyone in the audience, virtual waiting room, that would like to speak on this?
No, there's nobody.
Okay. So we can entertain a motion, or Mike can make some changes, or?
I just made a suggestion. I don't know if the rest of the board feels the same as I do. I just think that they'll end up staying there longer. They'll define the wetland. I think where so many neighbors are going to be filing with us, we'll make it clear that the jurisdiction's 100 feet from edge of wetland where the signs are. We'll hope that the neighbors just abide by the rules and that the signs stay there for a really long time. Like I said, that's just a suggestion. I would make the motion that way if the rest of the board feels that way.
I don't feel that way. I think we should have them on the buffer zone because that alerts people that there is a wetlands there. If we put them in the wetland, they can destroy everything up to the wetland before we know about it.
Okay, so we have 1 for and 1 against. And forgive me, with Andy recused, who's taking his place in it? Would that be Nicole?
Yes, that would be Nicole.
Yeah, I would assume so.
Okay. Nicole, what's your feeling on this?
I agree with Mike, actually, on the signage.
And Zach?
I'm actually going to agree with Joyce. I think it should be further from the actual wetland itself.
So, that's
You'd be
me. If we can put them on the wetland, and if we could just have a couple markers, I'd be fine with a couple just showing the beginning of the buffer zone, just so there's no surprises for anyone, especially while construction's taking place.
Okay, so,
Well, we'll have Bill, we'll have erosion controls. There'll be a line established of no disturbance beyond that point. So during construction, it'll be very clear between the pre-construction meeting and the hay bale line of where not to go and go. And I think as time goes on, we even do a better job to educate the builder or the owner moving forward that's, you know, that hay bale line, even after the fact, is a line to respect of no disturbance. And like I said, and I think the majority agreed, if we get the signs along the edge of wetland and they stay there for a good long time, we're going to accomplish a lot more. I see it myself. I've gone out and done site visits. The signs are being taken down. They're not being put up correctly. And it's about a mission to actually make a difference. So I'll make a motion to approve.
I closed the public hearing first.
In front of me. Oh, sorry. I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Well, one second. I thought Brandon was going to say something before Mike went on.
He's already
no, I did
weighed
have,
in on the project.
I did have, I want a question of clarification. Now that the sign's going to go on the wetland boundary, how do you want them placed? Do you want them placed at flag locations, which would make sense? And if so, how many of them do you want? How many times?
Let me look at the plan. I mean, I don't mind making straight lines in favor of the wetland. I mean, in favor of the wetland, so that the signs would predict a straight line, or it could be arced, but I wouldn't say every flag, but every 50 feet is a good visible distance. And
Okay.
maybe Raouf could submit a plan. We can approve it with Just he could submit a plan for our approval because he can start the project through the appeal period without the final locations. Just have him submit a plan with signs every 50 feet along edge of wetland, and to be mindful for not to make it confusing that they zigzag back and forth, you know, but using edge of flags as somewhat of an indicator of where the signs would be.
Okay. Will this be just for the area we're proposing the work, or the whole wetland on the property?
So anywhere that you propose to put signs.
Okay.
Personally, I think it's a little confusing to have some on wetlands and some on buffer zones and.
No, you're just creating an edge of wetland. It won't be confusing. That's the whole purpose of this, is to not.
What about when somebody else buys the property, like the problem we just had?
Right, and half the signs are missing. Most are in the wrong location.
That's
The people
actually,
weren't educated. They had no idea what they even were. They were told they could take them down. So,
yeah, but how will it make any difference if they're in the wetlands? The same thing will happen. At least if there's a buffer
No.
zone there.
well, I don't want to have a discussion about it anymore because I think we've all weighed in it already. We can all have our opinion. We can all disagree or agree. This is now how we're going to do the motion. So we're just trying to have a discussion of what's best to put them along the wetland line. I can't see the plan anymore. Is the plan still up?
I got to keep us moving along. We got a full agenda too.
Okay, so the flags tend to be about 25 to 30 feet apart. So how about every other flag?
That sounds outstanding.
Okay.
So I'll make a motion.
Okay.
Oop, plan just disappeared.
Mike, you got to close the public hearing first.
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
We have a motion. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Mike McGovern made a motion to close the public hearing. Nicole Owen made a second. Joyce, how do you vote?
Aye.
Zach, how do you vote?
Aye, to close the public hearing.
Mike, how do you vote?
Aye.
Nicole, how do you vote?
Aye.
I need a motion.
Bill, you have to vote as well on closing the
Oh.
public hearing.
Thank you. Bill Wentz votes aye. Sorry.
I'm trying to find the plan with the address. So I'll make a motion to approve this project with the condition that the signs go every other wetland flag where signs were proposed along the lines.
I need a second.
I'll second.
Mike McGovern made a motion. Nicole Oban seconded. Mike, how do you vote?
Yes.
Nicole, how do you vote?
Aye.
Joyce, how do you vote?
I approve the plan. I still don't like where the wetland signs are going, so I guess nay.
Zach, how do you vote?
Sorry, I'm thinking. I guess I'll vote yay, even though I don't like where the signs are being placed.
And I, Bill Wentz, vote aye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Nice view, Raul. I like that.
Thank you.
Have a good night, guys.
All right. Up next is going to be 7 o'clock, which is 453 Boston Road. Just give me a second to pull it up and read it in. All In accordance with provisions of MGL Chapter 131, Section 40, the Wetlands Protection Act and the Sutton Wetlands Protection Bylaw, the Sutton Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on Wednesday, June 3rd, 2020 at 7:00 PM, Sutton Town Hall, 4 Uxbridge Road, Sutton, Mass. The purpose of this hearing is to review a notice of intent submitted by Travis Perry of Sutton, Mass. The project consists of a proposed single-family house, septic and well, 453 Boston Road, Sutton, Mass. This will be a virtual meeting in accordance with the orders issued by the governor during the current state of emergency. There will be no in-person attendance by the public. Persons may attend and participate in the hearing by using the online Zoom application at https://zoom.us/join or via telephone at 1-929-205-6099 or meeting ID 838-2802-9896. Password is 708933. You may also provide input by emailing it to w.bean@town.sutton.mass.us or mailing it to Conservation, 4 Uxbridge Road, Sutton, Mass. 01590. An electronic file of the application materials can be viewed on the town's website at https://www.suttonmass.org on the Conservation Commission's page, and a copy of the same may also be requested via email to w.bean@town.sutton.mass.us or by phone, 508-865-8728. This was published May 21st, 2020. I do want to say that Mr. Perry has been nothing but a gentleman during this. He kind of got caught up in all the continuances and the mess due to this. So he's been great to work with so far. So I'm going to go over to the engineer. Who's the engineer on this project?
I am.
Hi, Margaret.
Hi.
I'm going to let you play out the project. I appreciate it.
Sure. Okay, for the record, Margaret Bacon. I'm an engineer with Civil Site Engineering, and I'm here to present this NOI for a single-family house at 453 Boston Road. It is a fairly big site, and we have some constraints due to wetlands and where we could put a septic system. Now, we did come before the board in February with an alternative analysis. Before we spent a whole lot of time on a design, we wanted to get feedback from the board regarding the different options we had. Do you remember that? Because I can go over every alternative if you want. There were three alternatives, and the other two alternatives were a whole lot more impacts to the buffer zone, with a whole lot longer driveway in order to access the site to where we can put, there's only one place on this lot I can put a septic system, and that's up in the far corner of the lot. We've perked various places on this lot. As you can see on the plan, all those little red dots, those are all areas we tried to get perks, and either due to ledge or bad soil, none of those lots were perkable. So we had to go back to where we have the proposed septic system now on the, if you look at the plan on the left upper corner by that piece of ledge. So with that, there was three alternatives. One was a straight driveway right through next to that vernal pool, and the other two were driveways that went around that wetland, which created a much bigger impacts. So what we're proposing, based on feedback from the board in February, we're doing the driveway that the least amount of buffer zone impacts that goes right through that vernal pool, or right next to the vernal pool, I should say. We're not going to impact the vernal pool. What we're proposing is a three-sided box culvert adjacent to the cart road that goes next to that vernal pool, so that vernal pool doesn't get impacted during construction. There is a plan that blows that up a little more. I don't know if we can pull that up. I think the second sheet.
This is what was submitted.
Okay, there's the, okay, yeah, there's a closer up, as you can see, the proposed driveway is going to go right next to the existing cart road that's next to the vernal pool there. in an effort not to disturb that vernal pool during construction. And what the culvert that comes out of that vernal pool now is basically it appears to be a bunch of, it's not really a culvert, but it's more like stone, piled stone. So we don't have a real open culvert that goes through that existing cart road. So even though I'm putting in a box culvert, there really is no, in my opinion, wildlife movement through that existing culvert now, even though I'm accommodating it with a 3-sided box culvert. And I try to, minimize the size of that culvert to lessen the impacts due to the crossing. So the total impacts for that scenario is BVW impacts are about almost 2,000 square feet, but the buffer zone and aura impacts are much less. They're about 5,000 square feet in that scenario. And we are proposing replication, I believe it's 2-to-1 over, and we chose the replication area over there on the right side because it was the least amount of impacts regarding tree removal and things like that. It's right along the edge of the field with a lot of invasives in that area anyways. And it's adjacent to existing wetlands, so it does meet that criteria for replication. And then there was one other comment that this still has to go through the planning board for a special permit for a retreat lot. And we did get one comment from one of the neighbors regarding accommodating stormwater off of the driveway. So I did include a grass swale along the proposed driveway at the beginning of this driveway up near Boston Road that you'll see I did one more revision on this. It would be revision number 3. And I don't think I got it to Wanda in time.
I have it though, and I reviewed it.
Okay.
Is that it, Margaret?
I think so. I mean, you have questions.
Okay, thanks. Brandon, comments?
I did some extensive review on this and sent extensive commentary to Margaret, and she and I worked on it over the winter and into the spring. And Margaret has done everything that I have asked her to do. She is also, as far as I'm concerned, taking care of all of the DEP comments that came in. And I think that this is a good plan. We have a wetland replication area. I'll note that they could have taken the long way around to the right side, but I didn't see the necessity of having a driveway that goes all the way around, and there would have been more overall buffer zone impact associated with that anyway. So even though this is going through more BVW, there's going to be adequate replication and is overall the best plan that I think we can do here.
And if I could weigh in on that as well, my concern with going the long way is there was going to be a pressurized sewer main, or there was going to be a pump-up system to the septic, and that's never a good idea near a resource area. So, Bill, do you have any comments on this?
When we started originally a few months ago, I agreed this was the best plan, and it all looks good to me.
Joyce, do you have any comments?
I was out there with Mr. Perry and Brandon last year in the summer, and so I'm familiar with the area, and I agree it's the best plan.
Jack, do you have any comments?
Sorry. No, I think this is the best plan.
Mike, do you have any comments on this?
No comments.
Nicole, any comments?
No comments.
Jamie, any comments?
No comment.
All right, is there anybody in the public for a comment?
No.
All right.
Bill wants to make a motion to close the public hearing for 433 Boston Road. Is that the right address?
453. Could I just say one other thing?
Go ahead, Mike.
Just a quick comment. If Brandon would work with us on the timing of the replication area, because they'd like to obviously construct this, the culvert in the low flow period and do the replication in the fall. I don't.
That makes sense to me, Margaret.
Okay.
It looks like there's other people trying to get on here. I don't know.
Yeah, I have no problem with that, but just, we will not close it out unless the replication area is done. We'll just make a note of that. We can put that in the minutes.
Bill wants to make a motion to close the public hearing for 453 Boston Road, Sutton.
I'll second it.
All right, so Bill makes the motion, Zach seconds. Bill, how do you vote?
Aye.
Joyce, how do you vote? Your mute on again, Joyce, I'm sorry. Your mute is on.
I vote aye, but as a point of clarification for you, the replication areas have to be done first, according to our bylaw.
Yeah, we're making an exemption for this. Zach, how do you vote?
I vote aye.
Mike, how do you vote?
Aye.
And I, Andrew Wolf, vote aye. So that's 5-0.
Bill wants to make a motion to issue an order of conditions for 453 Boston Road, Sutton.
Bill, can you just make a note that they're allowed to do the replication last?
On 453, the wetland replication can be done last in the fall, but will have to be completed before being closed out.
I'll second the motion.
Bill made the motion, Zach seconds. Bill, how do you vote?
Aye.
Joyce, how do you vote?
Aye.
Zach, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mike, how do you vote?
Aye.
And I, Andrew Wolf, vote aye. So it's 5-0. You're all set. Thank you.
Could you please repeat the motion and second for me? I didn't catch it.
I made the motion, Brandon, to allow an order of conditions for 453 Boston Road with the wetland replication to be done this fall, and it has to be completed before a certificate of compliance will be issued.
Thank you. Who did the second?
Zach
I did.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Margaret. And thank you, Travis, for your patience. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you to the commission for seeing me through this. I know you folks had some difficult circumstances, so job well done.
It's like the blind leading the blind.
Good luck.
All right, 7:10, we have a new request for an RDA at 96 Manchog Road.
I believe Linda has been trying to get on, Linda Nelson.
I just let her in.
Okay,
Just bear with me 1 second here. I'm going to pull this. Okay, yeah, now I remember. This was dangerous tree removal at 96 Manchog Road for Linda Nelson, and Mike did the inspection on this and issued we ended up ultimately issuing an emergency certificate to take the trees down. So Linda, could you tell us a little bit about what happened?
They came to look at the trees, Mike did, and I had an arborist look at the trees, and he agreed that they were dead, and we took them down.
Excellent. Mike, do you have any input on this one?
Yeah, it was very visible. They were definitely.
Oh, You're all broken up, Mike. Yeah, I think oh, you're back?
Why I didn't go on the property, but I can see from the street.
All right. I think I got a little bit of what Mike said, but I think that all the trees, he was in agreement. They were very dangerous and needed to come down.
Yes.
Yes, I was.
Okay. And Linda, what are you going to replace those trees with?
I have some small maple saplings. I was thinking of some pine. I have a hemlock tree. I already did put in a Kwanzaa cherry and a weeping willow because it's a wetland type of thing. Maybe a dogwood, maybe more
Okay.
bushes.
And what was the total number of trees you took down?
There were 3 at 96, and there was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think there was 7 at 114 Manchog Road. They were all rotted at the base. One had bugs in it. Another had been eaten by bugs. One was all woodpecker condo. Yep.
Okay. And the commission likes to see at least a 1-to-1 ratio for replacement.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Brandon, do you have any comments on this?
No, Mr. Chairman, we're all set.
Thank you. So I guess we're going to just need to issue a definite total of number of trees to be replaced. I think that's my concern. So we have that on paper. Joyce, you're kind of the expert in that field. What would you like to? How many trees would you like to see replaced for the 10 that were taken down?
Well, I think they should be trees if they were trees that were taken down, because that's a lot of canopy. And some of the things that she mentioned may not be native species, so we just need to make sure they're native species.
Okay, so Bill, are you okay with at least 10 native species?
Yes, I am.
Joyce, does that sound good to you? At least 10 native species?
Yes.
Zach, at least 10 for you, native species?
That's good for me.
Mike, at least 10 native species, is that okay? No, Mike. Nicole, at least 10 native species, is that all right?
Yes, agreed.
And Jamie, at least 10, does that sound good to you?
Sounds fine.
All right, I think we can see if there's anybody from
Andy,
the
I'm
audience.
sorry. Through the chair, it's Mike. Sorry, I had a bad connection. I think I'm better. This is a kind of unique situation. I just want to weigh in because I did do the site visit there. It's a campground. I know she took 10 trees down, but some of them weren't very big and they were really dead. And not that I don't want her to put back 10 things. But in this case, maybe some lower bushes, because it's pretty heavily wooded along the shoreline. Some were along the shoreline, some were in other places. So 10 trees might be hard to put back because these are campsites. And I mean, unless she was to remove the stumps to put the tree where they were. And that's why I just would say maybe some consideration of some smaller things with trees would be my only suggestion to her.
Okay. I think we had gone through everybody and everybody was in agreement with 10 trees. But Linda, would the 10 trees be a problem, or would you like to do something different?
Well, I think it just depends on what is needed. If shrubs would be good to hold the erosion, that would be a good idea. I think I do agree that over at 96, some shade would be good. I'm just trying to clean up what Mr. Falone had taken down all the trees. He had a wetland over there. It was beautiful, a woodland, and he took down everything. And what he didn't take down, he totally scarred and tried to make them die. So that's all I'm trying to do is improve what was there.
So Linda, now that you say that, it does, maybe she could do the plantings over on that property because it's pretty vacant lot.
Right.
And there has been a lot of, you can see a lot of activity over the years to get rid of everything that was growing.
Right.
So that may be a really good place. You could provide some shade to that wetland.
Yeah.
And then maybe you could do the 10 trees. Maybe do a few over at the campground and do the majority of your planting. I think that that would have a great impact on, you know, preserving a nice area of wetland. And it might help you when you where to plant 10 things.
Yep.
Just a thought.
I agree.
Bill Wentz making a motion to issue a negative determination for 96 Manchog Road, and the other address is
114.
114 Manchog, between the two properties to replace with 10 native species trees.
I'll take a second on that.
Second.
All right, Bill Wentz makes the motion, Joyce Smith seconds. Bill, how do you vote?
Aye.
Joyce, how do you vote?
Aye.
Zach, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mike, how do you vote?
Aye.
And I, Andrew, will vote aye. So it's 5-0. I'll set Linda.
Did you, excuse me, but did you do a vote on the closing of the public hearing? I didn't get it.
That was my bad. Bill Wentz making a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll second it.
All right, so Bill makes the motion, Zach seconds. Bill, how do you vote?
Aye.
Joyce, how do you vote?
Aye.
Zach, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mike, how do you vote?
Aye.
And I, Andrew, will vote aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Do we need to do the negative determination again?
No, we're all set. All right, next up at 7:20 is going to be 19 Westview Drive. Just give me a moment to pull it up. Okay, and this is going to be a 19 Westview Drive is a septic repair, and it's going to be presented by Bob Murphy.
Hello, is the meeting open? Hopefully you can hear me.
Yep, we can hear you. Yep, the meeting's open.
Okay, what we have is an existing failed septic system, 19 Westview Drive. The applicant is David Peasy. And what we're proposing is to replace the septic system and the tank with an updated Title V system. The septic system has been approved by the Board of Health. And because we are located within 100 feet of bordering vegetated wetland, we realize that we have to, protect the wetlands and also follow through with the necessary requirements with Title V to meet setback requirements. If you look at the plan, you'll see there we have erosion controls all along the lower side of the work that is adjacent to or above the wetland areas. If you look at the plan, you'll see on Westview Drive, you have the driveway going down to the house, then you have the house. The septic system is in the backyard. Over to the right, there's an existing above ground pool. And we are going to have to put a plastic barrier all around the area where the pool is and down along the lower slope. And this is to meet the breakout requirement and protect the groundwater in that area as well. So we are treating this project the same way we would treat it as if we had filed a notice of intent. We have complete erosion controls and protections for the groundwater with the barrier that I mentioned. And this will be innovative alternative system that was approved by the Board of Health with a local upgrade approval. The reason being the well is less than 100 feet to the well. So the system, as you see it, is centrally located between the wetlands. There's a wetlands to the left and a wetlands to the right, or you could say northeast or southwest. But we've actually fit this in very nicely so that it meets the Title V requirements. And again, we realize that we have to, do all the protections for the wetlands. And essentially, this plan is designed as though it were a notice of intent, but we wanted to use the RDA process so we could move it along, knowing that, the project will be reviewed by Brandon and also Board of Health engineer. With that, I'll answer any questions that you might have.
Thanks, Bob. Brandon, do you have any comments on this?
I did have questions for Bob that he has satisfactorily answered. The area where the septic system and the grading is going to be done is already pre-existing lawn. There's no encroachment to any wooded areas. So, being a septic repair, it's necessary. This is the best location, given that the well is on the other side of the house. So you can't put the septic system in the front yard unless you wanted them to flip-flop the well and the septic system, which I've never seen this commission do. So I am satisfied. Thank you.
Thank you,
If
Brandon.
I could add one note, if I could just add one note to Brandon's work. I at one time was considering, the possibility, the potential to move the well if the Board of Health required it. But we had the well tested and it was found to be excellent. So there's really no need to move the well.
Thanks, Bob. Bill, any comments on this? All right, Bill, you are muted. I think you broke your space bar.
Can't hear, no comments.
I feel
Okay,
muted
very
all
good.
the time.
Joyce, any comments?
No.
Mike, any comments?
My only comment, Bob, you just, on your plan, it says that the silt fence is optional, and with this steep grade, and I don't just hesitantly say to both the 12-inch biodegradable wattle, but can you make sure that they do the silt fence on this one as well?
Yes, I will do that. And if you want to put that as a condition, but I will be setting up the erosion controls with the contractor. So we'll make sure the silt fence goes all the way around as well. It's a good
We'll
idea.
just make a note.
It's a steep
When
slope.
Brandon does the pre-construction meeting, he can just confirm that.
Right, will do.
That's it. That's all I have for comments.
Mike, Brandon here. This is an RDA, and we haven't historically done pre-construction meetings with RDAs due to their fact that they're supposed to be of de minimis nature, and trying to keep costs down on RDAs too. So,
well, I will guarantee you that the silt fence is going to go in. I will take pictures of it and send it to you.
I'm good with that. I want to keep it simple. Thank you, Brandon. If Bob gives us our word that he'll make sure they understand that's the intent, then I'm good with that.
Thanks, Mike. Zach, any comments on this?
No comments.
Nicole, any comments?
No comments.
All right. Jamie, any comments?
No comment.
Bill will take a motion to close. Anybody from the public? I'm sorry. Any public comment?
No public comment.
No one's making a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll second it.
All right. So we have a motion from Bill and a second from Zach. Bill, how do you vote?
Aye.
Joyce, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mike, how do you vote?
Aye.
Zach, how do you vote?
Aye.
And I, Andrew, will vote aye.
Bill wants to make a motion to issue a negative determination for 4 West View,
19 Westview.
19 Westview.
19 West View. Sorry, I don't have my notes in front of me.
I'll take a second.
I'll second it.
Bill Wentz made the motion, Mike McGovern seconds. Bill, how do you vote?
Aye.
Joyce, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mike, how do you vote?
Aye.
Zach, how do you vote?
Aye.
And I, Andrew Wolf, vote aye. Thank you.
Have a good night.
Thank you. Thank you for your time.
All right, next up at 7:40 is going to be an RDA, request for determination of applicability, Oakhurst Road and Lackey Dam Road, gas main work. Let me just pull it up real quick. Bear with me 1 second.
You're missing one at 470 Boston Road, RDA.
Oh, I'm sorry, I skipped one. I did skip one. You know, it's the time. It's the time that threw me off, Wanda. Thank God we have you. Next is going to be 7:30 at 470 Boston Road, septic repair.
All right, can everybody hear me?
Yep, so we're going to, representative is going to be Shea Engineering.
All right. My name's Fred Lapham, and I'm with Shea Engineering, and we're proposing a septic repair at 470 Boston Road. This lot is at the corner of 8 Lots Road and Boston Road on what would be the northwesterly corner. We have very little room, very few options to work with on this property. You can see there's a wetland system on the east side where we have the lawn. The lawn for this particular property goes right up to the wetland. There is a standing body of water across the street on the same side of our house on the east side of the property. And that is part of the full wetland system on that side. And there's a small wetland on the west side of 8 Lots Road. And we've managed to keep most of our work and most of the entire leach system is out of the buffer zone from that is created by either of these wetland areas. So you can see we have 4 test holes scattered throughout the lot. And what we were trying to do there is we were trying to find better material. The material here is pretty tight. It's class 2 soils, and we ended up with a loading rate of 0.33, which is pretty slow, pretty tight soil. So we opted to go with an environmental septic system, a Presby environmental septic. And by putting it in a curved manner, we're able to keep that leach system 100 feet away from the well that is situated right behind the house. So everything worked out well for the leach system. We were able to avoid the buffer zone entirely. We were able to comply 100% with Title V requirement to keep the leach system 100 feet from the well. The only thing we didn't have another idea for was the location of the septic tank and the pump chamber. And we had to leave those over pretty much where the existing system is. We will be eliminating the existing septic tank, and that is those tanks and the pipes coming in and out of those tanks is the only portion of the work area that is within the buffer zone. So I did talk about this with your agent, and we kind of felt that an RDA would be more appropriate for this, where we have so little work in the buffer zone. We've wrapped our work area on the east side of the property from the front of the house right around to the driveway, and we're proposing the straw wattle with silt fence. And on the west side of the property, we do have one short section where the buffer zone comes into our area, and we're proposing the same type of siltation control right along that buffer zone. So the work area is basically in front of the house and directly to the side of the garage and driveway. Everything complies with Title V. We did get approval from the Board of Health for this project. And I'd be happy to answer any questions if anybody has any.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Brandon, any comments on this?
Mr. Chairman, this was a pretty straightforward review. The wetland is on the right side of the property, which is the east side. If you look below that, you see on the other side of Boston Road, it is a retaining wall and it says standing water. There's a little cattail marsh there, and there's a pipe that goes underneath the road that discharges onto this property, and it continues. The wetland is kind of narrow between houses, between Mr. DeLiso's house and this house, and it continues to the north. And it runs behind most of the houses along this side of 8 Lots Road. I reviewed quite a number of these over the years. But the only component that's in the buffer zone is the septic tank and the pump chamber and some other utilities associated with it, all within existing lawn. There's no grading that I can see that needs to be done in the buffer zone. Two qualitative comments. One, at one time, I think that the wetland was larger. It was probably down around where that 97 contour is. But being a house that was built, quote unquote, back in the day, it's now part of that wetlands turned into lawn because it's quite squishy down there. But because it's been a maintained lawn for so long, it's what we call grandfathered. So that does not count as a wetland. The other thing is that, and we could do this as a condition, the straw wattle, it states 12-inch diameter, but it doesn't say 100% biodegradable. So I just want to make that comment to Mr. Lapham, so when construction comes along, that use the biodegradable wattles. Thank you.
Okay, we do have that note there, Brandon. Just want to point that out. It's under the label erosion control barrier at the top of the plan.
You're right. I didn't see that. I was looking at the actual diagram itself. Okay, my bad. Even better.
Probably a good idea to put it in both locations next time.
Yep.
All right. Thank you, Brandon. Bill, any comments on this?
No, it looks great.
Joyce, any comments?
I'm very familiar with that area. On the plan that we just saw on the computer, I was wondering if there's any setback problems with it being so close to the road.
No, we comply with Title V's 10-foot separation from the property line at every point. I'll tell you, we barely fit this in. Somehow we lucked out with being able to hit all the minimum setback requirements. But we are 10 feet from the wall that separates this property and the road.
Oh, well, the town owns, is it 15 feet from the center of the road out? So you should be 10 feet off of that. So it looks so tight that I'm wondering if that really is a problem.
Well, we did survey that wall through that whole area, and the property line is the wall on this property.
My issue is the road.
Pardon
My
me?
issue is the road, you know. You need to be a certain amount of distance away from the road, I believe.
Well, I don't know of any requirement except that the 10 feet from the property line, that is.
The road would be the property line and it's 15 feet off
Yes.
center. So I just want to make sure that, you know, it's done right.
Oh, yes, it is. We have a deed, we followed the deed, and we have the physical evidence that agrees with the deed. So I'm not sure what, we're nowhere near the center of the 15 feet. What is that requirement? I'm unfamiliar with that.
That's not the Conservation Commission's jurisdiction. That's not our call. That would be Board of Health or the Building Department.
That would be that would be the building department, I believe.
We can't weigh in on that at all. That's not our jurisdiction.
Well, I think somebody ought to check on it so that you don't put a septic system in the towns right away.
No, I should be very clear on this. We are 10 feet inside our property line.
I know, but are you 10 feet away from the road jurisdiction?
Yes, we are. We're 10 feet from the property line. We have a good deed description. We have, this property shows up on some of the other surveyed plans in the neighborhood. And that property line is quite old. And the evidence is there in the form of the stone wall that agrees with the deed. So I think we've done enough survey work and research to be sure, absolutely sure, that we're 10 feet from the town road.
Well, you think, I hope you better know.
Just for the record, the road variances are different all over parts of town. Some are 15, some are 12, some are more, some are less.
That's right.
Thanks, Bill. Mike, do you have any comments on that?
I have two questions. One, is this an approved septic design, right? You're already through Board of Health?
Yes.
Okay. So we can't forget that the process that they have to go through to be approved from Board of Health is our town's engineers approved this septic. They'll have to do an as-built plan. So I'm very confident that there'll be no mistakes with property lines because the process won't allow it. My only concern is the trucks, because every time you do a septic, there's a lot of material taken in, sand, there's a lot of trucks. I know the field and all that work's not in your jurisdiction, but the road and that wetland's right to the edge of the road. So please just because I'm really in favor of these RDAs and keeping it simple. So I don't want a project to spoil it. I don't mean to be hard about it, but just make sure they keep that road clear and clean when they do the system, because it looks like it might end up down by that wetland, which goes right to the edge of the road. So just be mindful to not track the street. That's it.
All right. I'll bring that to the attention of the installer.
Thank you.
Before he gets involved.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. Zach, any comments on this?
No, I think that was directed to me. I have no comments.
Thank you, Zach. Nicole, any comments on this?
No comment, thank you.
Jamie, any comments on this?
No comment.
All right, thank you all for weighing in. I think at this point, we could probably take a motion.
Make a motion to close the public hearing at 470 Boston.
I'll second it.
All right, Bill made the motion, Zach second. Bill, how do you vote?
Aye.
Joyce, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mike, how do you vote?
Aye.
Zach, how do you vote?
Aye.
And I, Andrew Wolf, vote aye. We'll take a
Bill
motion.
wants making a motion to issue a negative determination for 470 Boston Road.
Take a
Second.
second. All right, so Bill made the motion, Joyce second. Bill, how do you vote?
Aye.
Joyce, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mike, how do you vote?
Aye.
Zach, how do you vote?
Aye.
And I, Andrew Wolf, vote aye. So we got a negative call on that one.
All
All set,
right.
have a good night.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Good luck.
Thanks.
All right, next up is 740 is going to be the RDA for Oakhurst Road and Lackey Dam Road for gas main work. Just give me 1 second to pull it up. Oh, it's a big one from SWCA. Do we have a representative here?
Yes, Chase Bernier with SWCA. I'm a natural resources project manager. We also have Jennifer Bataro with Eversource as well.
And
Thank you.
Andy, before we get into this, I'm going to recuse myself for this one.
Okay, no problem, Zach. I appreciate that. So Zach Pelican recuses for this one. And why don't you go ahead, Chase or Jennifer, and explain the project out.
All right, thank you. So Eversource proposes to install a new natural gas distribution main in Northbridge and Sutton, approximately 13,500 linear feet in total. Within Sutton, that distance is approximately 4,950 linear feet. Project enters Sutton along Oakhurst Road and then continues east onto Lackey Dam Road and enters Northbridge again at the Sutton Northbridge line, where Lackey Dam Road turns into Douglas Road. The new line will be constructed entirely within the existing paved roadway. And although we have BVW and banks adjacent to the road, the project does not propose any impacts to those resources. However, there will be temporary impacts during construction to riverfront area and BLSF. The pipeline will be constructed via direct dig, with the trench being closed at the end of each day. And under the Wetlands Protection Act, under 310 CMR 10.02 2B2I, areas outside of BLSF meet the minor buffer zone exemption. So it's only the areas within BLSF that are subject to the Wetlands Protection Act for this particular project. As I'm sure you're aware, the bylaw doesn't recognize those exemptions, so we are subject to the bylaw in its entirety. In addition to the construction of the new main within the roadway, there is a area of open land and approximately 25 Oakhurst Road that may be utilized for soil screening activities. I say may be utilized because at this time, the need for soil screening or how that will be accomplished is being put on the contractor, and depending on their capabilities, they may either utilize that land or there's an aggregate facility nearby that they may utilize instead. That being said, any soil screening activities will occur outside of any resource areas, including the riverfront area and the buffer zone as well. Once completed, we will restore the areas to their pre-construction conditions, including grades, with roads being repaved and disturbed soils being seeded and stabilized. And per the bylaw, we are proposing sediment and erosion controls between resource areas and the workspace that will be constructed of natural fiber compost filter tubes. So in conclusion, we respectfully ask for a negative determination from the commission, given the proposed minor impacts from the project and the public benefit.
Thank you, Chase. Jennifer, do you have anything to add to this, or?
Nope, I was just here in case you guys had any questions. The property at 25 Oakhurst Road is an Eversource owned property. We purchased it in December 2019. We are proposing to install a gate station there for the gas main at a later date and time, which the town is in support of. So we will be coming back with a notice of intent for that proposal.
Thank you, Jennifer. Before we go to Brandon, the only thing that concerns me is I know a lot of this work is within the roadway. How are we resurfacing the road? Are we just resurfacing the trench, or are we gonna clean the road?
I guess it depends on, I think they were just proposing to repave where they were doing the trench, but I think that also depends on the road opening permit requirements, because they did submit the road opening permit application yesterday with the town. So I think it depends on the DPW.
All right, thank you. I appreciate that. If you could at all push for, after the trench is filled, for grinding and at least repaving larger than the trench opening.
Yep.
Because we have a lot of trenches that have caved in, and we have old roads. We don't have the capital in this town to repave every road. So we want to keep these roads as in good a shape as we can. Okay.
You're just saying larger than the trench width, but not the whole roadway.
Yeah, if you could, the whole roadway
Yep.
would be great, but I know we can't get everything.
Yep.
Brandon,
Okay.
do you have any comments on this?
Two comments, and the first one is that I agree with Mr. Bernier's assessment of the regulations. I'll note that, and this is a minor detail, but the vast majority of the work is going to be happening underneath paved surfaces. But if you go to map sheet 11 of 19, it shows that line veering a little bit off the road at the intersection of Lackey Dam Road and Oakhurst Road. I still see it as minor. I just want to point it out, and I recommend a negative determination.
All right. I'm hearing Brandon's comment. Bill, do you have any comments on this?
No comments. Looks good.
Joyce, do you have any comments on this?
No, I don't.
All right. Mike, do you have any comments?
No, I don't.
And Zach is recused. Nicole, any comments?
No comment.
Jamie, any comments?
No comments.
All right. There's nobody from the public. Is there anybody?
There is nobody from the public.
Bill wants to make a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll second it.
Okay, Bill made the motion. Mike seconds. Bill, how do you vote?
Aye.
Joyce, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mike, how do you vote?
Aye.
Nicole, how do you vote?
Aye.
And I, Andrew DeWolf, vote aye.
Bill wants to make a motion to issue a negative determination for Oakhurst and Lackey.
I'll second.
All right, Bill made the motion. Nicole seconds. Bill, how do you vote?
Aye.
Joyce, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mike, how do you vote?
Aye.
Nicole, how do you vote?
Aye.
And I, Andrew DeWolf, vote aye. All set. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Just want to say I'm on a commission myself, and you guys are pretty efficient. So
Depends on the night.
it does, right? Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Aye.
All right. Next up is going to be board business. Minutes from 5:20 are not ready.
I'd like to table them if possible.
Yeah, we'll take
Make a motion to table the minutes of 5:20 to June 17th.
I'll second it.
All right. Bill
I'm
wants. Zach's back in the house. Bill makes the motion. Zach seconds. Bill, how do you vote?
Aye.
Joyce, how do you vote?
Aye.
Zach, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mike, how do you vote?
Aye.
And I, Andrew Wolf, vote aye, 5-0. All right, next up is going to be project updates. Let me pull up my phone and we'll start going through.
I'd like to note that Raouf has already sent me the revised plan for 188 Mendon Road for review.
You would send things right out if you were sitting under a palm tree as well, Brandon.
Oh, that's exactly what I'd be doing. I'd only be able to use one hand though, because I'd have a drink in the other.
I don't have anything in my Google Drive for project updates. Wanda, do you have anything that needs to be discussed under project updates?
No, not at this time. Possibly at the next meeting, maybe.
All right.
And we don't have anything for departmental projects forms either.
Okay. Brandon and Bill, there was something that I told you to remind me of that I don't remember what it was.
I believe it was the comments for, was it Lincoln Road? Or am I forgetting?
Yes,
14.
the denial for, if you still have to vote on 14 Lincoln Road, the public hearing was closed, and at the last meeting, what the commission voted on at the time was to have me write up the order of conditions denial for it, and that the commission would review the wording, and there would be discussion and ultimate vote. Has everyone, I sent it out on Friday of last week. Has everybody gotten a chance to look at it?
Yes.
Yes.
I can't look at anything because I have no internet. Well, I have internet, but I don't have any email.
Would you like me to read it in?
Maybe you could just mention them briefly.
Well, there were multiple points that were made, and I think.
It's 5 pages long.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's long. I can go through some, the synopsis if you'd like.
Yeah, just if you could summarize the synopsis so it's read in, and then we could vote on it, that'd be wonderful.
Okay.
Could we also get it on the screen possibly?
That would be Nicole, if you have it, Nicole.
Just give me a minute, please.
Yeah, I'll get it up on my screen too.
No, give me.
Yep.
Andy, just, I don't know if you can hear me.
Yeah, I got you.
Just why they're pulling, when we were talking about projects, did we get any updates from, we did some enforcement at our last meeting, and did we get any feedback? Did we send out all that information? Did we get any feedback? Did anybody call in and ask any questions? I guess it would be to Wanda, the question.
Yeah, that would be Wanda's department. I just signed the last enforcements yesterday, so I'm not sure.
The only thing
They got
I
the paperwork up. We can.
The only thing I got back was for 78 West Millbury Road. She's going to file the RDA from the through the arborist. That's the only information I got back so far on the stuff that we sent out. I have not received anything else on the other order enforcement orders that were mailed out.
Okay. Thank you, Wanda.
Okay, Nicole, you can go right to the second page, 10B.
Yeah, give it 1 second. He's still dealing with the paperwork on this.
But I'm just looking at the first page. It's highlighted motion, William Wentz, second, Andrew DeWolf.
Well, it's highlighted, which means that's a personal marker for me that's something that needs to be changed.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just a highlighted so I know where to go to change it.
Gotcha. Have you had any feedback on this, Brandon, from them?
Other than that they don't like it? No.
Okay. Yeah, when, as soon as Nicole gets her end figured out, just another minute or so, I'd like to go.
I'm back. Can you see it?
Yeah, if you could scroll down, Nicole, that'd be great. All right, Brandon, it's all you if you want to give us the rundown.
Okay, go right to the bottom of the second page, Nicole, if you could, please. Right, there you go, right there. Oh, a little further down. There we go. A little bit further. Perfect. There you go, right there. All right, so seeing as how everything the Conservation Commission does goes to protecting the public interests, I made note of the public interests that are applicable here, and I wanted to run it by everyone to see if you agree. The applicable public interests are protection of public and private water supply, protection of groundwater supply, flood control, storm damage prevention, prevention of pollution, protection of fisheries, protection of wildlife habitat. Those are the ones that are applicable under the Wetlands Protection Act and the bylaw, Article 12. And then the ones that are applicable under Article 12 only include protection of aquatic life habitat, protection of recreational activities, and protection of aesthetics. Does anybody have any comments on the applicability of any of those?
No, it looks good.
Okay, good. All right. So that's very important that everybody agrees with that. All right. So what I did is in the denial, you can scroll down a little bit, Nicole, to that denial section. So that's where the meat of it, the appealable. So if anybody's going to disagree and appeal, it'll be with this section that's underneath denial. So what I did was I basically went over the same points that I did during the meeting, including the riverfront area and how this is a lot created after August 1st, 1996, which means that when doing the alternatives analysis, you're limited not only to the lot that you're looking at, but the lots that were recently subdivided along with it. And that let me see, it's the commission's decision that there was an economically practicable alternative that existed to building on this lot, which included the other lots that was subdivided, specifically 4 Lincoln Road and 10 Lincoln Road. So they could come back with an argument saying that there's an economic hardship, because you can do that under the riverfront provisions. But what we're saying is, well, no, not so fast. You've already had an economically viable alternative, which are the 2 house lots to the north. Any issues with that rationale?
No.
I really think, I don't know if we've implemented it yet, but if we had a subdivide and RAD policy in place, we would not be doing this right now.
Okay. All right. And then the second part of the riverfront area standards is the fact that they're allowed to alter 5,000 square feet or 10% of the total square footage riverfront area on site. There's 117,492 square feet of riverfront area on the site. So that means that 11,749 is 10%. So you can scroll down to that table that I have, Nicole. There you go. Okay. So there's permanent disturbance and temporary disturbances. They had it on the plan. So when you add the 2 up, you have 24,206 square feet of total disturbance. Norman Hill was saying that the temporary disturbance didn't count. My reading of the Wetlands Protection Act is that, yes, it does count. So they have a total percent disturbance of 20.6%, which means that they just flat out do not meet that performance standard. So that was another reason for denial. Okay, then we go down to the BVW crossing. Although the commission is allowed discretion of up to 5,000 square feet of loss of BVW, the commission in this instance decided not to exercise that discretion. The commission voted, and I know you have yet to vote, but this is what's going to be written afterwards. The commission voted that under 310 CMR 10.554, that the magnitude of the alteration in relation to the significance of the project site to the interest identified in Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, would result in significant adverse impacts. All of the above public interests above were mentioned, but wildlife habitat and fisheries were a particular concern. Does that sound right to everyone?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Also, in the state regulations, there's a section that when taking into consideration the 5,000 square foot allowed of fill, that the applicant did an alternatives analysis. And the commission is going to note in this case, they noted if alternate properties could be taken into consideration, and that the alternatives were to build on the lots in common ownership, which were 4 and 10 Lincoln Roads. And therefore, they could have avoided a crossing at this location. That everyone agree with that?
Yes.
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 And then there's the area with the FEMA flood zone A, which is bordering land subject to flooding. There's zone A as opposed to AE, so there's no designated base flood elevation. The proximity of the house to the perennial stream and the lack of base flood elevation was a concern brought up by the commission's consultant, myself. However, William Wentz of the commission did not believe that the house side would get flooded due to the fact that the elevation at the street was lower than the house elevation, and therefore did not think that a further study was required. However, Michael McGovern believed that significant grading, that is fill, and construction so close to the stream with increased impervious areas and loss of forest would potentially increase flooding at the street and downstream, creating adverse impacts to the public interest of flood control. That sound about right, Bill and Mike?
Just
Yes.
rereading it.
Yeah, make sure that what I wrote is what you have in your own mind.
And I want to make sure I get this right. My feeling was the street would flood out before the proposed house would, and to me that was a concern for the town folk, the interest of other people.
Okay, so I'm gonna make an adjustment to that section to say that Bill had concern about the street getting flooded out as well, and that sounds like something that Mike had a concern with as well.
After the last meeting, and I really sat with the plan, and I went to the site for a 4th time, and it's just understanding construction. You have that much impermeable surface, and even though you're mitigating, those systems fail. There's already a problem with flooding on the street. So I had a real concern that it would add to the flooding of that street. That was an accurate depiction of what I had discussed, my concerns.
I will make an adjustment to Bill's section to say that, and make sure I get it right, Bill, that you're pretty confident the house is not going to get flooded, but that it could cause flooding of the street at the spot where the stream crosses.
Yes, that is true.
As a result of this, this development could exacerbate that problem.
Exactly.
Okay, I got it.
And I'm not saying the house wouldn't flood, but that wouldn't be my concern. My concern would be what they did to everybody else.
Okay. All right, now down to the section on Article 12. And what I do is I specifically reference section 12-8, which is the permits, conditions, and denials section. And this section of the Sutton Wetland Protection Bylaw explains the general rationale and requirements for permitting or denying a project. And under the section, the commission decides that due to the site conditions as a forested, undeveloped lot with bordering vegetated wetlands and in close proximity to a perennial stream with floodplain, that the functions and values of the wetland resource areas provided towards the public interest are high. And the commission also decides that the work, activities, alterations, and a project as a whole are likely to have both individual impact and cumulative impact when taking 4 and 10 Lincoln Road into consideration for existing and foreseeable future activities on the public interest. So just to back up and give a little clarification, when taking impacts into consideration, the commission has to look at what's in front of them. You can also think about cumulative impacts when taking into consideration other development in the area, or even what you see as foreseeable future development. And seeing as how 4 Lincoln Road, it hasn't technically been built yet, but that is something in the foreseeable future. Am I wrong? Okay. So, and then in the end, the commission decided that it cannot impose conditions that would adequately protect wetland resources areas by allowing the project to move forward without it resulting in significant adverse impacts to the public interests, and therefore denies this application. Done.
Thank you, Brandon. Bill, do you have anything you want to add to that?
No, that was well done.
Joyce, anything you want to add?
No, thank you for going over that for me. And I think you did an excellent job there, Brandon.
Let's hope.
Mike, anything you want to add?
Well done. Thank you.
Zach, anything you want to add?
Nope, I think Brandon did a good job.
Nicole, anything you want to add?
No, I think it's well written. Thank you, Brandon.
Amy, anything you want to add?
Nothing to add.
Yeah, and I think that we covered all the bases, and you know, it is what it is. So are we going to vote on the to deny the application now?
Bill wants making a motion to deny the application for 14 Lincoln Road.
I'll second it.
All right, so Bill makes the motion, Zach seconds. Bill, how do you vote?
Do we need language? Do we need language just to agree to accept those conditions that we discussed? Is there? Or is that
No,
just
because I think it's written out in the denial itself.
Okay. Thank you. Sorry.
That's okay. Bill, how do you vote?
Aye.
Joyce, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mike, how do you vote?
Aye.
Zach, how do you vote?
Aye.
And I, Andrew, will vote aye to deny the permit. So that's 5-0 for the denial. All right, is there any other matters to be brought before the board tonight?
I have a few things I'd like to mention. Bob Chauvin called me from Waters Farm, and he had a question, and I believe Mike has already talked to him about this. Waters Farm is in negotiations to be given a sawmill, and they would like some input on where they can put it. They were thinking of over behind the sugar shack, but that gets pretty close to the vernal pool. So they were wondering if they could find out exactly where the wetlands are and where they can put this this sawmill. So that's the first thing. Mike, do you have any comments on that?
Only one. I would love for Brandon to go up to Waters Farm with us.
Oh.
And we could just meet with Bob and we'll help him out. I know Brandon loves to work for free for the town.
Oh yeah,
just have
my goal in life, man.
He's been there
next
before.
time you're in town and we have I'm sure he has. He's very involved with the town. But maybe we could just help Bob out. Yeah, next time you're in that area and you do have extra time, because we know we all do, maybe we could just reach out to Bob and and meet him up there and see what he wants to do and help him out. And if he is in our jurisdiction, maybe we can do it as an RDA.
Okay.
I would be glad to go also because I know about those wetlands in the vernal pool that's in that area. I've been there so many years.
Just whatever we can do to facilitate, Waters Farm.
Excellent.
Okay, I have something else. As you know, I donated the conservation restriction on my aunt's and uncle's property on 297 Boston Road. And it's been 10 years, and I would like to see us go over and take a look at it and make sure that they're abiding by the regulations. I'm pretty sure they are, but I think it needs to be looked at. It should be looked at every so often anyway. Some places they do it every year, some places they do it every 5 years, and it's been 10 years and we haven't done it. So I'd like to see that done before the end of June. I would like to have Wanda send the Fenaris a letter saying that we would like to do an inspection after they've finished haying so we can get up in the hay fields.
Good idea.
Yeah, it's fine by me.
I like that idea. I think it's a good one.
The last thing is, when Wanda sends out the orders of conditions, she puts the permit primers last, and all that important information about filing a certificate of compliance and so forth, people never get to it. So I was wondering if maybe it would work better if she put that first and the permit itself last, and then they'd have to look through it at least before they got to it.
Actually, I put it right on the top, and I pretty much put that right in the front of the order conditions to make sure they see it. And I used to do it page 1 and page 2 on double-sided, but now I do it single-sided, so they have to flip the pages to read it all. I found that same problem too, that they weren't reading it. So that's the only thing I can think of is I put it right in the front. When they pull it out of the envelope, that's the first thing they look at. And hopefully they'll see it better.
Well, hopefully they read it.
Yeah. That's why I stopped with the double-sided, because they weren't reading the second page and nobody was calling Brandon. So I even handwrite on it some of the things like the DEP number. I will also circle where they need to call Brandon to set up their pre-construction meetings. And I do have people call me once in a while, and I tell them you need to call, and I give them his number too, because he sets up his own meetings. And hopefully that's working too, so.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, that's all I have.
All right, anybody else?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I just want to make sure that we're following procedure, and my memory is a little faded, but we've had some enforcement orders recently. We've had one at 211 Boston Road and one at 26 Hardback Road, and also one at 125 Singletary, which I think is a little bit older. The enforcement orders, cease and desist, and in a couple of instances, tickets have gone out. But with the enforcement order can get sent out by one person, but what has to happen is at the next available meeting, it has to be ratified by the entire commission. So I just want to make sure that we've done that.
Yeah, can we do a motion to ratify them all, or do we have to do them individually?
I would do them individually.
All right, I'll take a motion for Boston Road. What number Boston Road is it?
211.
Make a motion to ratify 211 Boston Road, the enforcement order.
I'll second it.
All right, Bill made the motion, Zach seconded. Bill, how do you vote?
Aye.
Joyce, how do you vote?
Aye.
Zach, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mike, how do you vote?
Aye.
And I, Andrew, will vote aye.
Okay, the next one would be 26 Hardback Road.
Bill Wentz making a motion to ratify 26 Hardback Road for an enforcement order.
I'll second it.
Bill made the motion, Zach seconded. Bill, how do you vote?
Aye.
Joyce, how do you vote?
Aye.
Zach, how do you vote?
Aye.
And Mike, how do you vote?
Aye.
And I, Andrew, will vote aye.
Okay, the next one would be 10 Lincoln Road.
Bill wants to make a motion to ratify 10 Lincoln Road for an enforcement order.
Second.
All right, Bill makes the motion again, Zach seconds again. Bill, how do you vote?
Aye.
Joyce, how do you vote?
Aye.
Zach, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mike, how do you vote?
Aye.
And I, Andrew Wolf, vote aye.
And the last one is 125 Singletary Avenue.
Bill wants to make a motion to ratify 125 Singletary Ave for an enforcement order.
I'll second it.
Bill makes the motion, Zach makes the second. Bill, how do you vote?
Aye.
Joyce, how do you vote?
Aye.
Zach, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mike, how do you vote?
Aye.
And I, Andrew Wolf, vote aye.
Okay, those are the enforcement orders, and I'll mention that one thing I'm working on right now, the certificate of compliance request that came in for the houses, lots 20 through 25 on the left side of Hunter's Court and Leland Hill Estates. That came in around the new year. I did the inspection in January, just eyeballing it. When I was out there, it was pretty clear to me that things were not lining up the way they were supposed to. So I went back to the engineer and said to please give us some more clarification. Came back and said that no problem, we'll get back to you in a couple weeks. This was end of January. He did not get back to me in a couple weeks, but then, COVID happened, but we're into June now. So I emailed him today saying that the commission would like to see some progress on that. So that sound about right?
Yeah, sounds good to me.
All right, good. So just keep it on the radar that I'm going to be starting to follow up on this, and my gut is going to tell me that all the backyards are much larger than as was approved. So probably going to be dealing with that in the future.
Thank you.
Through the chair, Andy. Nicole, I think you had success breaking out the old Word documents and putting them in an Excel spreadsheet. Did that end up working out for the open orders?
Me and Wanda haven't.
I'm still working on that, but because of this virus and me not being here, I haven't been able to do anything on that. I think I sent out 10 before all this craziness happened in March. So, but I haven't heard anything on any of those. We've had a few come in, but now that I'm back, I may be able to do something with that within the next week or so. Because I'm thrilled that you have issued all these tonight. So our next couple of meetings should be pretty good. But I have one other question. Wasn't 290 Putnam Hill Road also an enforcement order, or was it not? Because I thought we sent that out also. Do you need to ratify that also?
Yeah, we just did.
Oh, no, you did.
No, I
too?
don't think we did Putnam Hill Road.
Yes, didn't do 290 Putnam Hill Road. So if you would please do that one.
Goodness, the most important one, I forgot. Yes.
Make a motion to ratify 290 Putnam Hill Road.
I'll second it.
Order.
Bill makes the motion, Zach seconds it. Bill, how do you vote?
Aye.
Joyce, how do you vote?
Aye.
Zach, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mike, how do you vote?
Aye.
And I, Andrew Wolf, vote aye.
Good catch, Wanda.
Wanda, I just have a couple of housekeeping things I have jotted down here for you real quick. We do have a couple of outstanding invoices from our consultant. I didn't know when you get a second if you could clean those up with him and I'll sign off
Yeah,
on
I've
them.
been working on that. I will do some more. I was trying to figure out which ones were still owed. I don't see any back ones from what you sent me in the email. I will check into that. But I think all of that was paid. Like I said, I still have a lot to post from before we left. I haven't been able to do any of that with the short hours, but
Yep,
I'm working on it. So
understandable. And also we really played Mr. Nice Guy with a couple of projects that got caught in the buffer zone. One was it 15.5 Sunrise, and the other one was just on Lake Singletary. I think it was it 5.5 West Sutton,
Oh,
Brandon?
5.5. Yeah, I pulled those files.
Have either of those filed for an RDA?
No, not at this time. But
All right.
I've got the files. I will look through them and I'll mail them out one.
Yeah, if you mailed it out and we don't get it back by next meeting, we can issue them a enforcement order and we'll write them a ticket.
All righty, and I have everything set up so that next week, if everybody could set me a time, say Monday, you can come in and sign all these 7 orders. You've got 3 notice of intents and 4 RDAs to sign. So you guys will have to figure out what time you can come in, like say Monday or even Wednesday.
Want to let us know when they're ready?
But we'll work on that next week. Thanks.
And can you let me know if I have to sign any of them, please, Wanda?
Yeah, okay. All right, I think on that, we have nothing else. I do have a note I'm going to read in at the bottom of my agenda here. I think I missed it. An electronic file of this application material can be viewed on the town's website at https://www.suttonmass.org on the Conservation Commission's page, and a copy of the same may also be requested via email to w.bean@town.sutton.mass.us or by phone 508-865-8728. And I do think a couple of the filings had a meeting ID that was read differently. Just to clarify that, the correct meeting ID is 838-2802-9896. And the password 708933. And with that, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
All right, Bill makes the motion. Can I take a second?
I'll second.
All right, Bill motions, Zach seconds. Bill, how do you vote?
Aye.
Joyce, how do you vote? No volume, Joyce, I'm sorry.
Shake
All
your
right.
head, yes.
Yeah, Joyce isn't working. Zach, how do you vote?
I vote aye.
Mike, how do you vote?
Aye.
And Nicole, how do you vote?
Aye.
All right. That concludes the conservation meeting for June 3rd. Just an FYI, if it gets busy, we may change the dates of the July meeting. We only have one scheduled. We may end up doing 2 if people are filing. So just keep that in the back of your heads. And everybody stay safe and have a good night.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.